In order to do that, we have to learn to avoid this thing. The boss says something to you that you don't really like. The coworker says something that you don't really appreciate. If we constantly think that everything's wrong, everything's against us, everything's too hard, too difficult, too challenging, then that's when it's a clear opportunity to make their life better, their fitness better, their relationship better, their health better, something. But because they're so used to complaining, they can't even recognize when everything that we share here are things that we've either learned or things that we've learned and that we do, or things that we do and we try to process into something better or greater in our own life. Now even though we're here teaching, we're still students. We're everyday students of this journey of living better, of feeling better, of looking at our lives like it's something we want to improve on, not just for ourselves, although that's important too, but also for the people that are around us, our friends, our families, our coworkers, our relatives, anyone who we associate with. I think one of my old coaches a long time ago, and I've seen it online too. I'm sure you have as well. He said, every person in your life will either be someone who inspires you, who grows you, or someone who lessens you. Not lessons as in they lessen you, but they have a negative lesson that you got to learn from. So they either grow you or they lessen you, at which you have to learn from. And the first part of my life, I looked at myself like that person who lessened everyone. Because I was a really negative guy. I saw everything as what's wrong. I woke up in the morning angry. I drive to work angry. I play angry hip hop rap music because I still love hip hop, but I don't listen to it all the time because a lot of it is makes me angry. And I had to learn over the years. I was like, being angry all the time sucks because nobody wants to be around you. And when people are around you, it's like they feel like they can't be real with you. They can't be open, or worse, we start attracting people into our life who are just angry too, which creates this result that is circulating called rumination. That's really loud. It's okay. She's just opening something. And that's what I want to talk about today, which is the number one thing that we all have to watch out for as we grow in this personal development space of letting go of our anger, living in a way where we're less angry, and eventually getting to a place where 90% of our emotions is not angry. Only 10% is. In my opinion, that should be the goal. Maybe even less than 10%. In order to do that, we have to learn to avoid this thing, rumination. Now, what is rumination? What's it all about? What does it mean? Well, let me give you my understanding of it, and then you can look it up on ChatGPT, you can look it up on Google, however you like. But basically, in a nutshell, what rumination really means is taking an idea, something that is negative. So it makes you depressed, sad, angry, upset, fearful, whatever it is you want to call it. And it's basically talking about it. So what ends up happening is it creates a spiral effect. What that spiral effect is, we might start off with something small. I should have drew it the other way. A bad thought. But then we keep talking about it and it makes us feel worse. We're talking about it, makes us worse. Keep talking about it. And then eventually it becomes this all-consuming thought where all of our attention goes right here. It eats up most of our thinking, our feelings, our day-to-day activity. We start carrying this heavy weight around us all the time. Now, this is horrible because a lot of times when we look at our problems in the beginning, not at the end. But a lot of times, most of our problems are relatively small. You know, somebody cuts you off on the street, runs a red, doesn't hit you, that would be a bad day, but runs a red. You know, it gives you a bad look when you're walking by them, accidentally bumps you when you're at the grocery store. You know, the boss says something to you that you don't really like. The coworker says something that you don't really appreciate. In retrospect, that's you know, it's a small thing. You didn't lose money, you didn't die, you didn't get sick, nobody that you care about was gone. It doesn't, you know, you didn't lose your car, your home, your income, most likely. When it's this small. Well, what rumination says is that if we can continue to think about it, we continue to talk about it, we go and complain to our friends, to our family. Oh, you know what this guy did? He did this. She said that. Oh my God, they're an idiot. They're a whatever. All that does is it grows the problem in our mind. And what rumination says, and this isn't just, again, side note, this is not my stuff. This is science-based. This is neuroscience. You can look up the definition of rumination online, look up the research yourself. But what neuroscience tells us is that if a person is in this habit of taking small problems and talking about them until they get bigger in their mind, small problems, talking about it until they get bigger in their mind, and they keep repeating this process daily, what ends up happening is the mind becomes wired up to constantly look for what's wrong. And this is the place that we don't want to be in, because if we constantly think that everything's wrong, everything's against us, everything's too hard, too difficult, too challenging, then that's when we start creating the identity of things like, well, you know, I wasn't meant to do well in life, or life's just against me, or everyone's against me, or, you know, everybody else out there has it better than I do, or I didn't have the breaks that he or she did, or, you know, I got screwed on the game of life. My brother or sister got all the good looks and I'm ugly. Or, you know, and I'm not saying me, I'm saying that's what I've heard. Or, you know, Helen's laughing at me because we've heard that on so many occasions. And, you know, we got respect for people that go through it, but man, if we got $1 for every time somebody said that to us, right? Or, you know, or I started so late in my life. Everybody else started in their 20s and 30s, and I'm starting in my 40s and 50s. It's too late for me. Or I'm too fat, or I'm not smart enough. Like, oh my God, like this rumination, this is the result of taking small things and making them big. Which means that when opportunities arise, when there's a chance to do better in life, when there's something showing up that gives us that hint, that spark of, hey, wait, here's a direction where you can take your life from here and you can move it to something better. If a person is constantly ruminating, this does not appear in their life. This does appear in their life, correct me, I stand corrected. But what happens is that visually, mentally, and emotionally, they don't see it as an opportunity. What they see it as is just another thing to ruminate about. Oh, you know, I could have had that opportunity, but nah, and then they'll usually make up an excuse. It's too expensive. It's too hard. You know, that's bullshit. I hear that a lot. This is why I know somebody is in ruination mode, because they'll usually say something like, oh, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. It's a clear opportunity to make their life better, their fitness better, their relationship better, their health better, something. But because they're so used to complaining, they can't even recognize when someone's giving them potential gold in their face. It's almost like getting a piece of Bitcoin, you know, metaphoric Bitcoin before Bitcoin got big. Like if I asked you right now, if you can get Bitcoin for $1 or $100 or $200 today, knowing that it's worth over 100K right now, if you were able to get it for $100 or even $1,000, would you scrape up the money some way, somehow to get that piece of Bitcoin, knowing that it's going to grow that big? Well, yeah. But people who ruminate all the time, they don't look at opportunities that way. They look at it and they go, oh, but it's still $100. I can't afford that. Oh, it's still $1,000. I can't afford that. Even though it's a guarantee that they could sell it for $100K. People who ruminate cannot take advantage of opportunities. And that example was financial. But isn't that the same way that we all play that out in life? Oh, there's a better relationship here. But you know what? I'm going to screw that up anyway. Or that person's going to screw me anyway. Oh, there's a fitness gym here. Oh my God, they just opened up. It's 5 minutes from my house. Before it was like half an hour. But you know, I've always been this way. I've always been fat. I've always been out of shape. I've always been like this way. I can't see myself being into no, that it's not possible for me. And then of course the list goes on. I'm too old. It's too late. I'm too heavy. And like I'm really stressing on this, guys, not to ruminate myself, but I'm trying to cover all the excuses that people say in hopes that maybe you can connect with this. And B, I'm trying to help you remember what this scenario looks like of what happens when someone ruminates too much, that they can't see opportunities when they show up. So I've harped on this whole problem of rumination. How do you get out of it? How do you get out of it? Well, there's two key things. There's two key principles in mind that I want to share with you today. And again, the goal is of sharing this. I'm sharing this as a tool. So if you find yourself complaining all the time, getting mad all the time, and you want, like, if you are that person, let me be very clear. If you are that person watching this right now and you're telling yourself, I'm sick of being this way. I want to do better. I want to find a way to be better for myself and for the people that are around me. And this video is for you. Okay, I should have interjected this earlier. I'm going to interject this now. If you are that person, great. If you're the other person that says everything's wrong, this is bullshit, I don't think so, I think I'm going to be stuck this way. Hey, look, I want to just save you some time. I'm going to ask you to just end this video right now, because no matter what you watch, well, nothing's going to work for you. Nothing's going to work for you. No, oh, Alan, you sound like such a downer. No. I say this out of respect because I don't want to waste your time. And number two, I want to remind you, I have zero control over you. I've got no control over who you are and what you want to be and what you want to think. That's up to you. I'm not here to convince anyone that they got to live better. I'm not a convincer. I'm the guy that helps people that are down here that says, I want to find a way to get up here. I'm sick and tired of being this kind of person down here. I want to get up here. I just don't know how. But I'm open. I'm open because anything's got to be better than being down this hole down here. It sucks to be here and then to ruminate and then just to repeat the process and everything in life. That's the people who I help. The ones that are here that want to get up to here. Okay? All right. Since I got that out of the way, respectfully again, because I want to save your time and effort, here's what we learned. We've learned that one of the fastest ways to cut off rumination is, number one, to either make a list, write down, or to think of what are all the times that a person has thought of this and then grown their problem to something like this. How many times have we done that? When I was learning this work, I was actually told to make a list of all the times. And I got to tell you, when I made that list, it was embarrassing. Because on one sitting, I wrote down nearly 20 occasions in like a month. And I know I had a lot more than that. But I had 20 occasions in a month where I ruminated about a problem and I grew it in my head. Ruminated about a problem, grew it in my head. I got to tell you, just from that one exercise alone, it did something tremendous for me that I never thought would really help me, but it really did, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. What it did, I'm running out of room here. what it did for me is it helped me understand, create this feeling of being extremely aware of my habit. Make a note, okay? We can't change things that we're not aware of. We can't improve things that we don't know exist. In other cultures or other groups, they refer to this as shadow work. Shadow work. What is shadow work? It's working on the part of yourself that you don't know is running. It's there, but other people see it, but you don't. We all have that because that's part of the subconscious programming that we have from age 0 to 7. That's where the bulk of it was created. And if from 0 to 7, we had it hard, if we were around parents that were negative, siblings that were negative, people, friends, teachers that disbelieved, put us down, if that was the majority of our surroundings, or if those were the surroundings that impacted us the most, we carry that. We carry that into our adult life. And it runs on autopilot without us even knowing. Okay? So being aware of all the times that we ruminate, we put that down on paper. When I did that back in that was like 2005. I physically remember looking at this sheet of paper and thinking to myself, like, holy crap, look at all of these times that I ran this program in my head, that I had this habit in my head. And it made me realize, like, wait a minute, if I'm going to make change, if I'm going to do something better in my life, can I do that? If my habit is to just look at everything that's kind of not going well in my life and then just magnify it tenfold in my brain. So it looks like I'm dealing with a mountain that I got to climb when really I've just got this little anthill I have to get over. I mean, you tell me, what's easier for you to get over, a mountain or an anthill? Obviously the anthill, right? So step number 1, make note of all the times that you have ruminated in the past 7 days, in the past 2 weeks, in the past month, or just within the past year. Depending on how much patience you have, do it for your whole life. And number 2, count how many times you ruminated. Count how many times you ruminated. And step number 3, okay, here's the last one for today. Here's the last one for today. Sorry, tongue twisted. Tony Robbins talked about this a lot. He was the first person to teach me this. It's what he calls a repatterning or a reframing technique. I'm laughing because when I first started doing this, I was like, man, I don't think so. But honestly, it worked. He said, no matter what happens in your life, when you want to change the way you feel about a situation, you first have to change what you think. Sometimes it's the other way around. But if you can't control the emotion, then you at least change the question. And he said questions are the most important thing for change, because only through questions can you connect with your subconscious to make long-term change. Short-term change comes from the conscious mind. Long-term automatic change comes from your subconscious. And the only way to get to subconscious is not to tell it what to do, because it hates being told what to do during awareness time, during the times you're awake. It will listen, though, if you ask it questions. So the first thing that he taught us is, he said, when things are going wrong, you got to ask yourself with intention, is to ask yourself, what's good about this? What's good about this? Now, you might be looking at that question that's kind of looking scribbled up right now, but what's good about this? Tony talked about a story where he said he had to use this during the 80s, where he was running his business. Make a long story short, he was running his business. He was with a business partner at the time. And what he says is that the business partner ran off on him and took $250,000 from the company. Just grabbed it, took it, ran off, disappeared. Tony's like, where the hell's my business partner? And where the hell's my money? And so he's talking about this story, and he said, during that time in the 80s, like $250,000 is, I don't know how much now, probably a couple million now, at least, right? Like it's no small change. It's a lot of money. And what he said was that during that time, his business, because his partner took off with the money, his business was about to go bankrupt. He was on the verge of having his doors closed. All his marketing and advertising, which back then was newspaper, television, TV commercial, there was tens of thousands of dollars going out every week. That was all about to get shut down. He had no way of paying his bills. His house was about to get repossessed because he has no money. He has no money. Like everything he worked for was about to get thrown out of his hands. And so he said one time when he was there, he was so scared. And he was alone with his ex-wife at the time. And he just looks at his ex-wife and he's like, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I'm paraphrasing here, okay? He's like, I don't know what we're going to do. And his wife looks at him and is like, I don't know what we're going to do either. And they just start hugging each other. And while they're hugging each other, they're just trying to comfort each other, knowing that they are days away from losing their home, their business, their life, their everything. The first thing as he's hugging his wife is his brain clicks in from something he learned, and instantly he starts asking that question. What's good about this? You know what's really interesting? What Tony described is that at first, when he started asking that question, at first the answer was really like frivolous. It wasn't really that valuable. It was like small crumbs, chump change, if that's what you want to call it. I'm going to draw a little circle here as like to the answer of what's good about this. The guy just stole all my money. And the first answer his brain gave him, he's like, well, the guys took the money. At least he's living good. Okay, he's living good. And then he asked the question again, what's good about this? And he's like, well, at least, you know, he took my technology, took my books and tapes, and now he's apparently remaking them like it's all his own. Oh, at least he's using my stuff. Like, really, like, out of the box. Like, what the hell? Like, you know, you hear these answers, and you're like, how's that going to make your life back, man? Like, but again, Tony didn't stop. He's like, what's good about this? And then he answered it again. What's good about this? He answered again. And eventually, he asked this question so many times where eventually he figured out, okay? Like my felt pen started to die out here. Let me use the blue one. But he figured out how to not only get his $250,000 back. Let me write that down here. $250K. Not only did he manage to get that money back, but within the next 14 months, he managed to figure out how to get his business back to over $1.2 million by the following year. By the following year, you guys. Now, again, I'm paraphrasing the story. There's more details to it. You can look it up online all you want. It's everywhere. It's been around since the 80s. It's no secret. But my point of this story is, look at this. This is rumination. This is reframing the question. What do you notice that's similar? What's similar is that in rumination mode, if you always think about what's wrong, it magnifies. But when you start asking yourself better questions and mean it, as Tony says, don't sit there and say, well, what's good about this? You're not going to get a good answer. But you really got to you might do that the first few times, but then you got to get to that point where it's like, okay, no, really, like, what's good about this? Like, what is good about this? What is good about, oh man, like, come on, what is good about this? Like, there's got to be something good about this. Then you force your brain to start rewiring the patterning to think in that direction. Look what happened. Tony went from a small little answer to something so magnificent that he made 4x, 5x back what he lost. And it wasn't like he sat there and just thought about it. He thought about it and then started taking action, thought about it, took action, thought about it, took action. Both rumination, so in closing, both rumination and reframing will get you a result. And the process of negative rumination and reframing, it's the same. It starts off as something small and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. With the difference that rumination will only bring you more pain. Let me say that one more time. Rumination will only bring us, you, me, anyone who practices it, it'll only bring us more pain. The stuff we don't want. Whereas learning to reframe the question in your mind with something as simple as re-asking, what's good about this? Over and over again. It'll follow the same process as rumination. It'll take something small and make it bigger, 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 bigger. But this will bring you closer. It'll bring you closer to the very thing that you want. And what is it that you want? You want to be less angry? You want to feel more love in your heart? You want to start repairing those friendships, relationships? Maybe you want to start talking to your kids again. Maybe you want to have your kids start talking to you again if you lost that relationship with them. Maybe there's an old friend, a best friend that you had that you lost touch with because anger and depression and all those negative feelings got in the way too much. Maybe too many wrong things were said. Maybe there's that job that you always wanted to go for, but you didn't have the guts to do it because you were just triggered all the time. Maybe this can help you go after that job again. Or maybe starting that business that you always thought about. That business that you've dreamed of for so many years, that for so long you've had it in your mind and you've tried to push it away because no, maybe you think you can't do it. It's too late or whatever the excuse is. But for some reason, God or the universe or whatever you believe in just keeps putting it back in your head, and it's almost nagging at you. Do you think that reframing might help you start figuring out a way to start building that business for yourself? I don't know what your goals are. I really don't. But I do know as humans, as being part of this human race, all of us generally have similar goals. And they all relate to almost the same thing, which is wanting to feel accepted, wanting to feel like we're important, and wanting to feel that we're loved. No, Alan, no, you're going a little too far here, buddy. I don't want to feel loved. I want to feel respected. I want to feel powerful. Powerful. Yeah. Well, why do you want to feel respected and powerful? Because it creates a version of love that you probably didn't get during your childhood. So in closing, I want you to think about that. Number one, are you that person that continues to ruminate? And if you are, cool. I'm not here to judge you. I was that guy. It's why I can talk so boldly about this. I lived like that for the first 24 years of my life. That's a long time to be a ruminator. You know what I mean? And I just learned that's just not worth it. And number two, I've also learned to live my life this way, where I constantly reframe. So if you are that person that's done with ruminating, is this a process that you can start to follow? Not for me, but for yourself. And number three, are you the type of person who can commit to something this simple until it starts to work for you in your favor, to your benefit? Because I promise you, it will. As long as you don't give up when it's too early. I hope that helps. I hope that you have a little clarity on how to break that pattern of constant negative thinking and bringing more negative stuff into your life. And I hope this gives you a little insight on how you can start making changes to improve your life situation, your communication, the way you feel in yourself, and the way you feel around the people around you that you care about the most. I really hope that helps. Questions or comments, please post them down below. We're always open to your feedback. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you on the next call, okay? I'll talk to you soon.